Hi, this is Cora Stack here. I just want to talk about my most recent paper, which it's taken me a long time to really, I suppose, accept the truth of it, really, or to really understand what's going on here. But the paper is called Why Access to Justice is an Illusion for the Unrepresented. Now, that's people, the lay litigants in person, and how, what's behind it, really. It's startling how institutional narcissism and bureaucratic cruelty perpetuate democratic decay. So I'm linking in a lot of the issues that I've been talking about, and I'm really linking it in to access to justice and how, unfortunately, for millions around the world, that's now become an illusion. My new paper, Why Access to Justice is an Illusion for the Unrepresented, and How Institutional Narcissism and Bureaucratic Cruelty Perpetuate Democracy Decay, is now available on Academia.edu. Well worth reading because I use very plain language. That's something and Academia is kind of open access, so it's very plain language. I don't want any fancy, language to put people off, or it's really plain, simple, but it's very clear. So this is why I think it's resonating with a lot of people. It's clear, it's truthful, it's honest, it's based on, it's very rigorous, and it looks at international comparisons. So it's truthful and it's ethical. These are the kind of pillars and principles I try to avoid. Right? So I explore a simple but devastating truth. For those who enter court without legal representation, including myself, I was one of those, the promise of justice has become an illusion. And unfortunately, this is not an illusion, it's the truth. It's an illusion. What they meet is not fairness by and large, bar very, very few, but a system built for professionals, a theatre or procedure where empathy is disallowed and humanity becomes evidence of weakness, or a tool to gaslight, to twist and turn the truth and to mess with your mind. This is what they do, done to me. Courts pride themselves on being open to all. For unrepresented citizens, access means forms they can't decipher, deadlines they can't meet, and hearings they can't navigate. Procedural perfection replaces moral purpose. One formatting error can erase months of preparation. The unrepresented soon learn that outcomes depend not on truth, but how one can imitate a lawyer. Not even that. Justice in practice is a game, and they were never taught the rules. In fact, they were never taught that justice is a game. Courts are designed to project authority, raised benches, robes, and language drawn from another century. That architecture seeps into behaviour and into the thinking, unfortunately, of the unfortunate judges who go that way. When a layperson speaks, they often trigger irritation, an intruder in a professional domain. They display contempt for those people. Institutions like banks or state agencies, on the other hand, arrived armed with solicitors, clerks, and precedent, and a case law miles long, relevant or irrelevant. It all looks very impressive. The self-represented arrive alone, facing not one opponent but an entire structure. Each misstep confirms the institution's superiority. This result is an asymmetrical warfare, procedure versus person, versus humanity. The emotional cost behind every affidavit is a human being, frightened, angry, exhausted. This is now our justice system in the Western world, and in Ireland in particular, but it's very much mirrored elsewhere. Yet the system punishes emotion as if it were contamination. When a person cries, they're labelled unstable. When they stay calm, they're called insincere. Either way, they lose credibility, because if you're not a solicitor, you're not represented, you're a second-class citizen, and you can't be right. Research from Northern Ireland shows that more than half of self-represented litigants experience severe emotional distress. Many describe leaving court feeling humiliated and erased. This now is common everywhere. For them, justice is not only denied, it's traumatised. This is the everyday experience of the vast majority of litigants in persons, and we are talking about millions and millions across the globe. Institutional narcissism. Why does the system built to protect fairness behave so cruelly and so unjustly and so callously towards the unrepresented?
because it must believe it is perfect to survive. Also, there's a sadism there, the dark triders in some of their judgments and in their comments to lay litigants. The dark triders there. I've witnessed it. It's been done to me. Legal institutions, like people, develop self-images, grandiosity, narcissistic, sociopathy, psychopathy. They develop the dark tetrad, or it comes out in them in judgments or in their language and towards litigants and persons. What causes it? It's difficult to know why people perhaps who go into the judiciary with good intentions end up this way. I mean, that's in itself a major issue that the judicial, the oversight bodies should look into, but they won't look into it, because there's no accountability, in my opinion. To admit systemic unfairness would fracture that identity, so instead they deny harm, reinterpret complaints as incompetence, and pathologise emotion. They collect self-idealisation. Institutional narcissism, as I'm calling it, turns compassion into threat. It allows bureaucracy to harm while insisting it's neutral, and it turns truth into fiction. Gaslighting by procedure. For the unrepresented, every rejection carries a subtle message. You're wrong about your own experience. So every time I go into court, and this is what you're told, you're wrong about your own experience. Can you imagine the cumulative effect of that, what have you, over many, many years? And this is the lived reality for most litigants in person. Documents are struck out for minor technicalities. Testimony is dismissed as narrative. Facts vanish in each form. In fact, facts are twisted, exaggerated, turned around structurally. I think I have it surgically kind of distorted to represent a completely different person, version of maybe the evidence of the litigant in person, to maybe favour the other side who are represented. It's shocking what goes on. It's distortion. It's narcissism, the dark side, working brilliantly through a system, and it gets away with it, particularly if there's no oversight. If there's no media oversight, for example. Documents, but even still, this is what happens. This is institutional gaslighting, the systemic invalidation of lived reality by authority. And this goes on every day of the week in so-called democracies, because we haven't confronted this reality of the system we're dealing with is not fit for purpose, it's totally archaic, and it's letting down so many ordinary people and alienating them from the democracy that they believe they belong to. And it's no wonder so many people are talking or saying, what democracy? They're absolutely on the ball. It transforms legitimate grievance into personal shame. By the end, many litigants doubt not only the system but themselves. So that's gaslighting. That's horrific gaslighting. And there's no accountability. There's nothing you can do to somebody or a judge or a system because they've covered every angle they've covered, so they're not accountable. There's no accountability at all. None. Bureaucratic cruelty. Cruelty in modern systems rarely looks violent. It looks like calm procedure, a clerk filling a form, a judge cutting off a plea, a rule enforced without reflection. Or, there doesn't seem to be anything behind it. It's just you can't have this. You've asked for this. No, you can't have it. And you wonder, well, why can't this person have it? Oh, he's a little litigant. He couldn't possibly have it. No. This is what sociologists call bureaucratic cruelty, suffering procedure by obedience to process. Yeah, you can't challenge the judge. He'll just say, I don't want to give you that order. No, it doesn't suit me because, well, I've rang up X, Y, and said we don't want to give it to you. We don't really, there's no legal reason behind it, but no, you're not having it. And then you're thinking, well, what's the reason for that? No reason given. No is the answer. Harm is delivered politely, even efficiently. Each act feels trivial. Together, they crush lives. And because everyone follows the rules, no one feels responsible. Technology's false promise. We're all told that technology will democratize justice. Online portals, AI drafting tools, virtual hearings, all promised equality at scale. But culture is code's hidden algorithm. It's the people designing and operating these systems still view lay litigants as irritants. Digital justice simply automates exclusion. That's the truth of it, believe me. Technology can perform, but it cannot correct content. What justice could become, there is another way. So let's focus on the positive. A trauma-informed arbitration-first model would start with safety, recognition and repair. Before adversarial battle, there should be structured mediation. And I'm saying trauma-informed because this is very important to bring the humanity and the emotional aspect into dispute resolution and conflict resolution, where people can speak, be believed and be guided, not shamed. Empathy would be seen as competence, and so would kindness, not bias. Procedural flexibility would replace extreme, in often cases, rigidity. Now, there are some very humane judges, but there are few, unfortunately, and far between. The system seems to seep in to many who where the dark side seems to become their personality style after a short time. The goal, and that's very, very sad to witness. I witnessed it and I'm kind of shocked, really, but, it does happen, people, yeah, it does, yeah. The goal should be restoration, not domination. Culture change and accountability. Rules alone won't fix a wounded culture. The legal profession must be retrained to value humility as much as intellect. I don't see them really valuing intellect, no, they just value theatre. Judges need reflective practice, not immunity from